Week 20 deadline live stream. Hope everybody is doing well. Of course, the game week 19 deadline was only a couple of days ago. So if you had a bad game week, you now have the opportunity to rectify whatever happened. And I'm speaking as a manager from experience here because there's been a few bad game weeks. And hopefully in game week 20, we can start the new year with a green arrow because that's exactly what is required for my team. So first and foremost, Happy New Year to everybody who is tuning in right now. Hope everyone had an amazing end of 2025 and obviously got all your goals sorted for 2026. Let me know what your plans are in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the world. I'll be really interested to know, has anybody moved already? With loads of price changes happening last night, of course, I think there were a lot of managers that made transfers, which I totally understood. I think Gabriel went up in price. I think some key players went down in price. So I would be interested to know if anybody has already made a move in their teams. I can see, is it Cremosa? Hope you're doing well. Hi, mate. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, mate, as well. Should I do Mason Mount to Paqueta or Ghana? Which one? With one of my free transfers, or roll and play one of Joachim Andersen or Potts? Which one? Thanks, mate. Well, yeah, I do think in this sort of scenario, Mason Mount is still indifferent. I don't know whether he's going to start or not. If anybody knows regarding Mason Mount, please do let me know. I don't actually know the status on him. But if you're in a position to sell him right now, I do think West Ham are probably the route that I would go for. West Ham's upcoming fixtures are pretty decent. Wolves away, Forest at home, Spurs, and then Sunderland. I don't think Paqueta is a phenomenal pick, but I do think as a budget enabler, I think Paqueta is not too bad at all. However, I would look at your team and ask yourself, would 2 free transfers the following week actually help you out? Because if that is the case, playing Joachim Andersen isn't the worst thing in the world. I still think Liverpool are a little bit poor. Do I think that Liverpool will score? Yes, absolutely. But do I think Andersen will get defensive contributions? Yes, as well. So I don't think you need to force a move. But if Mason Mount is out, which I can see in the chat, Danny has stated that he is out, then yes, I think that is a fine move to go Paqueta, as long as in game week 21 you're not benefiting from those additional transfers that might come in handy. Naildy, apologies guys, still a little bit ill right now, so I might have to cough every now and then. I do apologise. Probably not the most pleasurable for those that maybe have headphones in at all. Who do you start between Minter, Keane or Anderson? Okay, so just in terms of the status of them right now, I'm guessing that's Anderson of Nottingham Forest, so we know he definitely will start. Minter is touch and go. Keane is touch and go. I think, personally, there is a good chance that Minter could be a bench and come on, and Keane either starts or gets 0 minutes. So with this scenario, Minter's really difficult because you might only get him for like 20 minutes. So for that, I think I would start Keane, because I think if he does start, he will play and get the clean sheet and play enough minutes. I think if you start Minter, the upside is there against Burnley 100%, but he could also come on for the last 20 minutes and then really the upside has kind of disappeared, and then I think Keane is the better choice of all of them. Global Sports Gods, good day from Melbourne. Oh, I'd love to be there right now. I imagine it's a lot warmer than where I am in the UK right now. It is a snap frost, absolutely bolty. I've just got in from walking the dog and I am freezing right now. More technique as always. Hope you're doing well, mate. Purple Snake, Happy New Year to you as well. Sagan is saying, Alisson, Timber. Okay, so this is like a team combination, what you should do. Well, first up, mate, I would need a bit of context on how much money you have in the bank and also how many free transfers before helping out on that one, because otherwise I could be recommending players that you simply cannot afford. Ibrahim, best regards from Q8. Hope you're doing well, mate. And Erin's saying, love the content. Thank you so much on that one. So we've got a super chat from Scott. Scott, as always, mate, appreciate you being on the stream. And as always, for the super chat, too generous, mate. Far too generous. But Merry Christmas to you and New Year, buddy. So you got 0.9 million in the bank, 1 free transfer right now. Scott, let me know in the chat where you ranked right now. I'm always keen to keep up to date to see where you are, because obviously we're kind of following your journey as it is on the stream. I'm hoping you're at a good rank right now, because otherwise I would recommend not sending any more super chats. So I'm clearly not helping out on that one, buddy. So Kelleher and goal, fantastic. Good fixture for Brentford. You've already got Gabriel, which is great. Van der Ven, which I actually think is a sneaky pick this week. Obviously, if Spurs are at home to Sunderland, it's not the worst case scenario. Keane, fine. That back three is okay. Enzo, with Chelsea, I really don't like it, but we can look at this in a minute. Semenyo, it looks like he's going to play for Bournemouth, but again, he is a sell waiting to happen. Saka, Foden, Wilson, absolutely fine, with a front two of Ekitike and Haaland. So firstly, I think the team is fine in terms of minutes. Now, in terms of the actual rest of the team, Dubravka, I understand you would start Kelleher over Dubravka. Mukiele away against Spurs. Now, firstly, that is not the worst case scenario if he was to come off for you. Do I think Spurs score? Probably. But do I also think that he could get defensive contributions? Yes. So, again, you've got a good first sub. Krupa Jr. and Richards, I think, are not going to play. Krupa Jr. probably get minimal minutes. Richards, we think, is going to be ruled out as well. So, in terms of your situation right now, you already have Gabriel, which is a really good position to be in. And with 0.9 million in the bank, I look at the rest of your team, really. And because you've got Gabriel really locked in, I don't think there are any future transfers that are desperate for you. So I probably would look at, firstly, Enzo. If you can afford, and apologies, I'm just trying to work off the top of my head whether you can do this or not. Let me try and get up the FPL site. And we can take a look at this. So Enzo's price point currently is 6.4 million. So really, if you have 7.3 to spend on a midfielder, you're in a position right now where I don't think you are blessed with all of the top picks. So if we do price, you can't get to Morgan Rogers, who I do think is not a bad buy. Obviously, Eze's out your reach. You don't want him. You can't get to Gordon. So really you're coming down to some of the ones. Now, Bruno Guimaraes is an option. I do think Bruno Guimaraes could be a pick. 10 points against Burnley, 10 points against Burnley. Just remember, Burnley give players their best returns. So it's slightly skewed, Bruno Guimaraes' data, because he's basically delivering against Burnley twice. And he done it against Spurs. Otherwise, the numbers are okay, but they're not fantastic. The fixtures, though, are good coming up. Spurs, Leeds, and Wolves. So really, what I'd probably be tempted to do is maybe sell Semenyo and bring in Morgan Rogers. I think Morgan Rogers is a bit overhyped, I'm going to be honest with you. But with Forest, Palace, Everton, Newcastle, Brentford coming up in a team that are on a title charge, I do think Rogers is actually quite a nice pick for Semenyo. And then maybe looking to sell Enzo later down the line. But what I want to say is also, you could just roll the transfer. It's not the worst case scenario. So I think if I was in your position right now, I think because of the lack of options that I love for Enzo, I would be a bit tempted to maybe do Semenyo to Rogers. I think he is quite a nice pick. The other one I do like is going to be Gordon, but I am slightly concerned that he will continue to be a 75-minute man, but I think he probably has a higher upside than that of Morgan Rogers. So let me know your thoughts, mate, and we can go through the rest of your team. But again, don't send your super chat through again, because that's far too generous as it is, my friend. Just going to put my team up for everybody here, and we'll go through that in a minute. Oh, Endabaz as sorry, bloody hell, I can't really pronounce that. Just become a member, massively appreciate it, my friend. And yes, I was going to get to that one. It's just I've been answering obviously a lot of questions right now, so I do apologise. So starting Wilson or Tavernier in your situation. So let's just go through this logically. First and foremost, who has the better fixture? So when we actually look at the fixtures, Tavernier is going to be up against Arsenal, horrific fixture. Wilson is going to be up against, in this situation, Liverpool, who defensively are still a little bit suspect. So straight out the bat, I don't see any reasoning to start Tavernier over Wilson. So for that, mate, as long as it's not Callum Wilson of West Ham and you're talking about Harry Wilson, that for me is a very simple move. I would start Wilson over Tavernier. Let's get back to the chat in a minute, because I appreciate I've missed a few questions. So XX Lucas is saying, I took out Wilson and Minter for Garner and Gordon. Good transfers. I only had 2 transfers. Yeah, so Gordon, I think, is one of the best picks. However, I'm a little bit concerned that his minutes could be a bit sporadic. That is it. I'm just a bit worried that he could be in and out of the team. Not because he's not first choice, just because they have a very, very good person to help them in the likes of Harvey Barnes. That's all. So I'm just slightly concerned about Gordon not playing 90 minutes all the time, but who is going to play 90 minutes over this period? Not many players. So that, for me, is a good move. Garner, I'm going to be honest with you, is somebody that I haven't even got on my radar. So for anybody that is also considering Garner, let's go through a bit of a thought process on whether he's actually a good pick or not. So in terms of his actual game time, fantastic. He literally plays 90 minutes every single game. Obviously a midfielder, 5.1 million. Now, has he actually done anything before his 16-pointer? Because now everybody's talking about Garner. He's 2% owned. Literally, I stream every single game week. Garner, I can guarantee you, has never come up once on a stream. So this is natural that when a player gets a 16-pointer like he has, and when we look at his returns, he literally has never had anything apart from game week 2 where he had the 10-pointer. So he's got 2 goals, 3 assists. Nothing to be sniffed at 5.1 million. Now, in terms of his numbers, outside of the game against Forest, where he obviously was good, they are okay. He's averaging 0.21 XGI per 90 minutes, which is expected goal involvement. So does he hit DEFCON? Well, he hits 11.15 DEFCON per 90, which is really solid. So he's hit it in game week 19, 18, 17, 16, 8, 5. So he's hitting some good numbers here. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't actually know where he has been appearing on the pitch. So I'm just going to quickly get up SofaScore a minute. I really would recommend checking out SofaScore, guys. I'll try and get it up on here in a minute, just to get an understanding. And if there is any Everton fans out there, please let me know in terms of the positioning that Garner's been taking up. So Patterson's been playing right back with Garner playing centre mid. So really with his touch heat map right now, just taking a look at it, just to give you guys an example. He's been playing very centre mid. Like, it's not like he's been operating in the final third. He's been playing as a 3, and they basically been playing the 2 up top in terms of Barry, Dwight McNeil, and Tyler Dibble on the right-hand side, while the other players are out. Now, I'm concerned with Garner once Dewsbury Hall returns. Could that negate Garner as a pick? So Garner's fine as an enabler. Don't be bringing him in expecting this sort of return each and every week. Rice to Rodgers. So this is a really interesting one. Some people think that Rice has an opportunity to play. A lot of people think that he actually is going to not play. I'll be surprised if he plays, I'm going to be honest, because of the Liverpool game next week. So it doesn't feel right to just jump on and play him straight away. So if you can do the Rice to Rodgers move, I do like it. Will Rice be back for game week 21? Possibly. Do I think Rice long-term is a better pick than Rodgers? Yes, because I think he's cheaper and he's a bit more consistent with his returns. But I do think in terms of Rodgers, I think he's a good pick for the next few weeks. Would I start Mukiele or Gudmundsson this week? Well, when we take a look at the fixtures again, we've got to ask ourselves, who has a better fixture? Well, Leeds, of course, have their game at home against Man United. And we've got Mukiele away against Spurs. Wouldn't be surprised if both kept a clean sheet, but I'd probably be more tempted by Gudmundsson, just because I would not be surprised if Leeds were to hold Man United to a clean sheet in that game. Man United looked really poor in their most previous game, and I think Leeds at home are actually quite good. So probably would play Gudmundsson in that scenario. 32 degrees, just got back from the beach. Oh, that is killing me right now. Timber de Gabriel for a hit? Absolutely not. If anybody right now is considering doing Timber de Gabriel for a hit, I just think it is mental. Because if we take a look right now at Gabriel, now don't get me wrong, Gabriel is phenomenal. So he got the 15-pointer in game week 19. He's had a 12-pointer against Burnley, 12 against Fulham, 13 against Newcastle. He is fantastic. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists. Can we just make sure people realise Gabriel is not scoring every single week? Just simply is not. He is a massive threat from set pieces, absolutely. But I think the 15-pointer is slightly exaggerating everything. I really do think that. Now, I still think Gabriel is the best defender in the game, and we're all going to want to own him at some point. But if you owned Timber right now, unless I'm missing something and he's a possible doubt for this week, he's still great. He's got 2 goals and 4 assists. Now, I know he's played more minutes than Gabriel this season, but Timber's still fantastic. In terms of defensive contributions, yes, he isn't going to hit them. So you take out that big factor for Timber. But if you own Timber, you definitely keep him, and I would not be selling him for a hit to Gabriel. Now, of course, if I wanted to own one of the two, then yes, I would choose Gabriel over Timber. I wouldn't be doing that for a -4. No chance whatsoever. Okay, so Sagan's saying he's got 1 transfer and 0 in the bank. So that does limit things a little bit. Now, in terms of your actual team, Anderson, Timber, Chow, Van Dijk's fine, Rodon, Wilson, Cherky, Foden, Roger, Xhaka, Haaland, Voltemade, and Ekitike. Well, Voltemade suddenly becomes quite a nice differential this week. I'd play the 3 up top. Wilson, Cherky, Foden, Rogers, I'd play as a 4. And then you're playing 3 at the back of Timber, Chow, and probably Van Dijk, really, in that scenario, with Rodon and Anderson on the bench. So I actually think you could roll your transfer this week. The only thing I would say, of course, is that if you were desperate to get Gabriel, but you got nothing in the bank to do so. So I would personally roll my transfer this week. I don't think you need to force a move at all. I think you're in a good spot. Morning, should I start Keane or O'Reilly? Well, there's a little bit of concern about O'Reilly, but there's also some concern about Keane. Now, in terms of the actual fixture coming up for Everton against Brentford, I think it's fine. I think Everton were poor in game week 18 when they kept their clean sheet. I don't really know what the numbers were in this particular game for Everton, but I think if I owned Keane, I would start him because I think he either gets 90 minutes or he plays 0 minutes, and then O'Reilly will just naturally come in for your team if you needed it. Ollie, hope you're doing well, mate. If you have any question, by the way, buddy, put it in here and I will try and answer it. Sammy, happy new year. Watching from Vancouver, Canada, 1 a.m. Fair play. Thiago to a 4.2 million mid. I'm guessing you mean 4.2 million forward, and then Reinders, Mukiele to Gabriel have Timber. So I'm a little bit confused by the move. So Thiago to a 4.2 million midfielder and then Reinders or Mukiele. So you have to do Mukiele to Gabriel. I do like the move, but I don't think you need to force it because you already have Timber. So if that's part of a points hit, I wouldn't consider that myself. Scott, we're going to get you into that top million in a couple of weeks, I can guarantee you. Yeah, Scott, I think your team looks good for this week. I think we can get you into that top mil quickly, very quickly. -4 to bring in Trossard and Gabriel for Saka and Virgil van Dijk. Or wait until next week to make the move. I would wait till next week. I would be selling Saka as part of your moves, especially for a -4. I would not be considering that. Does Vardiel start this week? I wouldn't be surprised. I think he probably does start. Came on, obviously, in the previous game. I think he probably does come and start this game. And I think he will get long-term game time now. All he's saying about Maresca, yeah, honestly, guys, anyone that's considering a situation regarding Haaland captaincy, you just put it on Haaland. Chelsea were going to lose this game regardless whether it was under Maresca's management or not. Now there's no Maresca in charge. Chelsea players clearly liked Maresca based on what we're seeing right now. Obviously, the ones that are out of favour of Maresca, that's always going to be the case. But it looks like the majority of the players liked Maresca. So I do think we are going to see a battering of Chelsea. No Caicedo as well. I think the feel-good factor just doesn't exist at Chelsea. So if you're considering anything right now, I do think Man City players, you play all of them. You play every single one that you possibly can. Oh, I see we got a super chat here from Jared. Jared, massively appreciate it, mate. That's far too generous for the new year. So hopefully we'd help you out on this one, buddy. So Pope, who of course is currently competing with Ramsdale. Pope's back. So he could possibly play this week, but we don't know. And Virgil van Dijk to Verbruggen and Gabriel. 2 free transfers and need a cash cow for Gabriel. You have Keane, who's great. You could start this week. Szoboszlai, fine. Foden, Cunha, Ekitike too, but they're good picks, and you have Timber already. Okay, so because you have Timber, there's no desperation to get a double Arsenal defence. Like, I don't think, if you don't have any Arsenal coverage, I think Gabriel becomes almost essential. And me currently sat here with Raya, I'm looking at it thinking there's no world Raya covers Gabriel or Timber, so I'm just losing every single week effectively. So I do think your moves with 2 free transfers, what you're doing is you're selling a goalkeeper who you have no idea whether you're going to start or not and taking up a lot of money. And Virgil van Dijk, who, yes, could he get a clean sheet against Fulham, yes. Will he get a clean sheet against Arsenal? Absolutely not. Then he's got Burnley. Then he's got Bournemouth and Newcastle. I just don't really see anything right now to suggest Virgil van Dijk is offering FPL value. So for that reason, I think the moves that you're proposing are really good. Now, I think the big question is going to be who is the actual goalkeeper to buy? Because we got to look at it and think, where can you get the most amount of clean sheets at that cheaper price point? Because I'm assuming Verbruggen is roughly the amount of money that you need to spend. So if we take a look at it right now, I can't get behind West Ham. This is based on fixture difficulty. I can't get behind West Ham. So you're talking about Verbruggen as a pick. Well, you got the Burnley game, which feels like a great entry point. You just play him against Man City and hope for the best. If you were to own Dubravka alongside it, what are Burnley's fixtures that week? Home against Man United. So you could play Dubravka and hope for the best. Bless me, sorry. All over the shop today. And then after that, we've got Bournemouth, Fulham, Everton, Palace with home games. Now, I never feel it in my stomach that Brighton are a good defensive team. However, I do think Verbruggen is just a fine pick, because outside of that, really, if we look at the goalkeepers available to us, if we look at the goalkeepers here, so let's rule out all of the expensive ones, because I'm assuming you're looking at like roughly 4.5. So we've got Sells has lost his place, where he's least competing. Petrovic, I just can't get behind Bournemouth as a pick. Kelleher is one to consider, definitely. If we look at the fixtures for Brentford coming up, they've got good fixtures. Everton, Sunderland, Chelsea, Forest, Villa, Newcastle. I'd prefer Verbruggen, honestly. And then when we look at the rest of it here, I think it's a no-brainer to go Verbruggen, I'm going to be honest. So, yes, I like those moves. I think they set you up long-term really well. You've got the double Arsenal defence, which is great. I'm all for that. And I think before you know it, Ekitike and Foden will be cash cows in your team to use to improve the rest of your team later down the line. Right, I'm just going to blitz some more of the questions, and then I feel like I should probably go through my team and talk about what I plan on doing. So, Cunha or Paqueta for a free hit? I know Cunha's been disappointed, but I probably would go Cunha. Is Van Dijk to Gabriel a no-brainer? Got one free transfer. If you can do Van Dijk to Gabriel directly, I would just get it done. Gabriel does everything Van Dijk does. Like, he does as much defensive contributions. He plays for a better team. He has more goal threat from set pieces. He has better fixtures long term. Yes, get that done. Gardner's playing more advanced versus smaller team. Okay, yep, that's fair. Sell Vandenberg or O'Reilly for Gabriel. Okay, so I actually would be tempted to do O'Reilly. I think there is a chance he plays this week and it's fine, but I just think Vandenberg is a cheap enabler. Defensive contributions is great. If you upgrade Vandenberg to Gabriel, all of a sudden your balance in your defense probably starts to look a bit weird. I think I'll be tempted more by O'Reilly unless Vandenberg is out injured, and I've missed the boat on that one, which I do apologise if that's the case. Looks like Vandenberg's fine. Let me know if there is any rumours that he might be out or not. Oh, I see he's missed the last two. If your squad can enable you to sell O'Reilly for Gabriel and still have starting defenders, then I can get behind that. Start Wilson or Stack. Well, Stack's been ticking over lovely right now, but I think if I owned Wilson, I still would go there. More avenues to points, I think. I know Stack can get defensive contributions, but I would lean more towards Wilson. And again, guys, if you haven't already, please do consider dropping a like on the stream. Always massively appreciated. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Again, it is just lovely if you could do so. I'm just trying to see right now what we have got in the chat. I think it's probably a good time for me to just go through my team and might answer some questions that are coming up, and then we can go back into the chat. So if we take a look at my team right now, as you can see, I have problems. Lots and lots of problems. So captaincy sorted. Obviously, it is going to be Erling Haaland. There's no deliberation whatsoever. And what I always like to do every single week is take a look at the fixtures and ask myself, what do I not own this week? So if we bring up this here, this is a graphic from Rob T FPL. Please do check him out, and Solo Analytics over on Twitter, X, Blue Sky, wherever you consume your social media addictions. So in terms of the graphics here, sorry guys, I am all over the shop right now. It's a pretty meh game week, I'm going to be honest. So Man City look great. As I said, play all your Man City, every single one that you can against Chelsea. That is just the no-brainer pick. Then we've got Arsenal at 2.07. So again, good in terms of attacking. If you're looking to sell Saka, I probably would think again. And then in terms of Brighton, 2 projected goals. But again, who is that Brighton player that you want to own with Welbeck in and out of the team? Minter, a possible doubt. I don't think we can invest in Brighton offensively with confidence. And then outside of that, Newcastle at 1.78, but again, I'd still rate Palace. Villa at 1.68, again, it's fine. There's not really much in the market that project loads of goals. And then if we look at the clean sheets, there's no bankers. Brighton look great. Again, that's a good way to go. Arsenal at 38%, yeah, that looks good as well. And then we've got Newcastle at 35%, which again, I don't feel confident in investing in Newcastle defensively, but for this particular game is okay. But would you be surprised if Palace scored against Newcastle? Not at all. So this isn't really a great week, I'm going to be honest, in terms of what we can invest in. So when we take a look at my team, what don't I have? Well, we don't have Gabriel, but in order for me to get to Gabriel, I do need to take a -4. So I would want returns in this game week to justify the -4. And as we saw with the projections, I don't think there's a lot to grab this game week. I don't think there's a lot really that we can reach for. In terms of the players, Semenyo's a big problem because, of course, it looks like he's going to play for them against Arsenal. But one, it's Arsenal. And two, I just think he's going to be at any point whipped out of that Bournemouth team in preparation for his move to Man City. So we're just living in like a constant fear of when Semenyo is going to come out of the team. So one move that I have deliberated is just rolling my transfer, because in game week 21, I then get myself in a position where I've got 2 free transfers, and I really do think my team needs 2 free transfers. I think it's really, really plodding along. I think it just needs that little bit of flexibility and getting myself into this position, because I only have 0.1 million in the bank. And I think the team could do okay. Yes, I don't have Gabriel, but if Gabriel scores another header, then it is what it is. I don't personally think he's going to score headers every single game week. And I still have Arsenal coverage, don't get me wrong, with Raya, even though it is the worst coverage that you could go for. So rolling the transfer is absolutely deliberation for me. Part of the reason being is that, how can I get Gabriel? So if I was to sell Virgil van Dijk and address that situation, I have 0.5 million that I need to free up in the rest of my team. Well, if we assume that Semenyo is the problem player in this team right now, if I was to sell him, I've got 7.1 million available to spend. And I don't really love a lot of the options. So this is based on price right now. So if we take a look at who I can afford, it's basically everybody below Declan Rice. Well, Sade, no. Bruno Guimaraes is an option. He is an option. The fixtures are good. Palace, Leeds, Wolves, Villa. Long term, you could play him. But do I think that his numbers have been massively skewed because he's played Burnley twice? Yes, I think that's absolutely what's happened. So I think Bruno Guimaraes is fine. But do I love him at 7 million? Not really. Kluivert, Trossard, Cherki. Yes, I like Cherki as a pick. But of course, I'm tripled up on Man City already. And then we start coming down the list. Like Szoboszlai. Yeah, he could come into my team. He's an option. Do I think Liverpool have been good offensively? Absolutely not. I've seen nothing from them. So he would basically be a pick. Just to simply have somebody for that Burnley game in game week 22. That is literally it. Then really, outside of that, we're coming down to some cheap enablers here. Enzo, Kudus is one that is interesting. Sunderland at home, West Ham at home, Burnley away. He could find some form over this period. But have I seen anything from Spurs or Kudus to want to go there? Absolutely none. But would I be surprised if he also delivered? No, I wouldn't. And then really, we are scraping the barrel here. And the problem is, because I already own Lafay, if I was to go for someone like Garner that everybody's talking about, I'm then suddenly rolling out a team that has Lafie and Garner in it each and every week. That is a problem. That is not good long-term planning for my team at all. So I got to be thoughtful in terms of what I'm doing with that move. So as you can see, that doesn't really benefit me. And guys, let me know in the chat, like, who really do you think I should sell? You know, who should I actually try and sell Semenyo for? I don't really think there is anybody fantastic to go there. So the flip side is, what I could possibly do, if I was desperate to bring in Gabriel, is sell Virgil van Dijk to Gabriel, and then sell David Raya, and bring in Verbruggen in goal. It gets me the Burnley game, which is hopefully a clean sheet, so I almost kind of get myself a clean sheet this week, fingers crossed. I get Gabriel for the long term. It doesn't disrupt the rest of the team, and it gives me 0.7 million in the bank for the foreseeable future. Then in game week 21, what I can do is I can start Dubravka instead of Verbruggen and get the home game against Man United, where again, I wouldn't be surprised if Dubravka got something in that game at all. Then the rest of the team would look like this, which I think is fine, but then I would have to address the Semenyo situation and understand, okay, is this a game really that I need to sell him in now? Because it probably will become that as a case. So that is the other route that I would consider bringing in Gabriel. Let me know in the chat, guys, if there's any other route that you can see. But I think really is Semenyo's a problem. Raya's a problem. And I also do think O'Reilly is a problem. Now, somebody mentioned about Pickford as a pick. I can't get there. I unfortunately can't get to Pickford, and I wouldn't really want to go to another expensive goalkeeper. So the only other option is taking money out of O'Reilly and go into a 4.8 million defender. But of course, Michael Keane is actually one of those that hasn't got guaranteed minutes this week. So I would be slightly concerned about him. As somebody like an O'Brien, who Ollie has recommended as a bit of a differential this week, plays 90 minutes, good for defensive contributions, good long-term fixtures as we know, but he is slightly more expensive than Keane, which is killing me a little bit. Because I think this is the move that I would do if Keane was available. I would do Gabriel to Van Dijk, and I think I would do O'Reilly to Keane and just get the move done. But unfortunately, I am 0.1 million short of that. So part of me thinks, is there a route where I just bring in Keane for O'Reilly and just kind of make ways with O'Reilly as an option this week? Because I am slightly concerned O'Reilly doesn't play significant minutes. And almost going down this route of Gabriel, Keane, hoping that Keane plays, and if he doesn't, we got Lafie coming in. But I still have Semenyo in the team, which is a bit of a problem. But like I said, I don't really love a lot of the options available. Now, there is somebody called Luke on Twitter who projects Man City teams. I'm just going to have a look right now to see if he's put anything out there. Just going to take a look to see if we got anything. Because I don't really want to sell O'Reilly, because I do think he is a possibility. For those who are wondering, Lucas Paqueta is a doubt for today's game. Just a heads up. That's come from ex-West Ham employee who is a very good Twitter account, always gets their stuff correct. He's not saying he's out. He is just saying that he is a doubt. So just be cautious of that. So that rules out Paqueta as a pick for me this week. So Luke, let me just try and get Luke up a minute. I want to see if he's put a projection for Man City yet. No, nothing up there. Okay, that's fine. Just going to see if there's been Jump the Wave, which is the other account on Twitter who was very good at the projected lineups. Just want to see what their projected lineups are for Man City. And Man City, it looks like, has not been put up just yet. Oh yeah, it has. Just getting up Man City. They have got Nico O'Reilly at 67% chance of starting. Not ideal. Not ideal. Yes, O'Brien, I think, is pretty much a lock for starts. If we get up him a minute, and again, shout out to Ollie for this shout in terms of it. So O'Brien has literally started every game, apart from clearly either a slight rotation here or he got injured. I'm not sure what the situation was. Otherwise, he's guaranteed minutes. He's got only 1 assist. Let's be real here. He's not exactly going to get any attacking returns. In terms of defensive contributions, the average is 11.6. Sorry. Don't listen to me there. 6.62 DEFCON per 90. So he isn't fantastic for defensive contributions, it's worth noting. O'Brien very much is going to tick over in your team for the clean sheets and the occasional defensive contributions. He's hit 13 in game week 19 and he hit 10 in game week 7. That's really it. So O'Brien's not getting you the DEFCON. He's just ticking over. In terms of bonus points, just to put into context, he's only got 1 this season. So I like O'Brien, but at 4.9 million, I would say I would need the defensive contributions to be there just to really want to own him in my team personally. So I just want to put a quick poll in just to see what you guys do. What transfer would you make? So this is in terms of my team. Apologise, it is a bit selfish. I'm just curious. Would you roll the transfer? Obviously, brackets, no Gabriel. Would you take, would we do Raya and VVD to Verbrugge? That's Verbruggen, by the way. Oh, I can spell him. / Gabriel. Would we do VVD / who's the other one? O'Reilly to Keane, but we know Keane's a doubt. That's the only thing. Keane is a doubt. And my other option is VVD and Semenyo to Gabriel / and who that Semenyo replacement, I have no idea. Maybe Bruno Guimaraes, maybe Kudus. Is Kudus got any sort of numbers to suggest that he's a pick? 0.25, 0.02, 0.08, 0.3, 0.28, 0.47 is pretty rubbish, I can't lie. It's pretty rubbish, but would the fixtures breed returns? Possibly. But I don't love it. I don't love it right now. So, really, it probably would be, sadly, Szoboszlai if I was to buy someone. But I don't love buying Liverpool right now. Fulham away, Arsenal away. Why am I buying Szoboszlai with those 2 fixtures coming up? Doesn't make any sense, really. Doesn't make a lot of sense at all. So by default, I think it would be possibly Bruno Guimaraes, which I don't really like the option of. So yeah, if I put the poll in a minute, don't love the Bruno pick, but you can let me know if there's anybody else who you think should go in. Let me know what you think I should do with this team right now, guys. Ray out for a cheaper goalkeeper and Gabriel in for Chalobah, but love from Nepal. Yes, I actually don't mind that at all, because we don't really know whether actually we don't really know whether Chalobah will keep his place once a new manager comes in. So that's also something that we have to consider. Now, a big thing for me is when we look at the fixtures, if I'm talking about how I don't really love any of the Semenyo replacements, will somebody actually emerge as an option as we go through the week? So let's take out game week 20. If we go to game week 21, all of a sudden Chelsea do start to come on the menu. We have to remember that Chelsea will become options for us. Will they be good options? That's the other question, because we don't know who's going to be manager. But if by game week 21, for example, Everton look good, then is there going to be a Drewsbury Hall possibly available? I doubt it. But what I'm saying is, if I don't know who my Semenyo replacement is, does it make sense just to almost keep him for one more week? Because then get to game week 22. This is based on difficulty, by the way, so it will fluctuate. We got to start having a plan in place for Chelsea. Whatever happens, game week 22, Brentford, Palace, West Ham, Wolves, Leeds. So I think the good thing is with Chelsea, play the Man City game, let the Fulham games happen, and then hopefully by game week 22, we get an idea on who could be that Chelsea player to own in that team. But from my perspective, as I mentioned, I don't really love any of the Semenyo replacements. So then I'm kind of looking at thinking, do I just keep Semenyo until he finally gets his move and then sell him to the one that I truly do want in this team? That's currently where I'm leaning towards right now, is that kind of route. Now, one question I need to ask myself in terms of my team is, could I actually afford to do O'Reilly out to Gabriel? So O'Reilly out to Gabriel and Verbruggen in actually does work for my team. It actually does work for my team. The problem is O'Reilly has okay fixtures, in game week 21, which is a following midweek. He's got Brighton. So I really would have to be confident that O'Reilly's losing his place in order to justify doing it. Right, let's get back in the chat, guys. Let's get back in the chat, see what is going on. So, would I sell Foden, Chow for Gabriel, Anderson or Trossard? Would I sell Foden, Chow for Gabriel, Anderson or Trossard? Well, I personally can't get behind the Trossard pick myself. I would keep Foden and Chow for this week. I think they're good picks. Chelsea are all over the shop. Chow's got a great fixture. I probably would keep it. Will O'Reilly start or should I play Alderete in place of him? I probably would start O'Reilly, hope for the best. And if he doesn't play, hopefully he doesn't come on. And then you will have Alderete come in as a first sub. Try to get some rest after the stream, Nacho. Health as well. Appreciate Omar. Yeah, just got that flu that's been going around. I had it a month ago and I've got it again. So clearly my immune system's all over the shop right now. Semenyo to Rodgers for a -4 or just play Wilson and bench Semenyo. I mean, it's really difficult this week because I do feel like Semenyo to Rodgers for a -4. So Rodgers could just do that 15-pointer and kind of make waves with it. So I think if you're going to bench Semenyo, I'd probably rather just take the -4 and sell him rather than bench him this week. What to do with Altamade? I mean, his minutes are all over the place. But because he didn't start the previous game, I probably would start him this week and hope for the best. Should I keep Van Dijk or Hincapié for this game week alongside Gabriel? I'm transferring one of them out anyways next week, so it's only for this week. So if you already own Gabriel, and you have, I'll just keep all three of them. Let me know if I've misunderstood that one, my friend on that one. My team is Raya, Van der Dijk, Collins, O'Reilly, Dorgu, Cunha, Foden, Saka, Lafi, Haaland, Ekitike. Bench is weak. Dewsbury Hall, Richards, Gooey. Is it worth bringing Gabriel for Virgil van Dijk? Well, you're in a very similar boat to myself where you have the Arsenal coverage and your squad is looking a little bit thin, similar to myself, both in real life and my team. So I probably would be in a situation where I would look what my team looks like the following week. If you think you benefit from the additional transfer, then yes. But if I had the money in the bank to do a free transfer of Gabriel in, Van Dijk out, I probably would just get it done. Personally. Brian, hope you're well, mate. Hope you're doing well, buddy. O'Reilly to Gabriel or deal with Minter. Can only afford a 6.5-ish mid like Kudus or below. Yeah, so really in that scenario, if you don't know who you want to sell your midfielder for, I would buy the player that you know you desperately want. That's the way I would flip it. It's like, rather than addressing the Minter situation to buy another player that you might have Minter 2.0, just get the player that you want in. Szoboszlai or Gravenberch? It would be Szoboszlai of the two. Is Grealish going to play? I don't know on that one, FPL Noah. I don't know the situation on it. Let me check Twitter a minute just to see what's going on, if there's any sort of news on that. I can't see anything right now. And again, I don't know if O'Reilly's going to play this week. This is also a problem. So we got a few people predicting the Man City team, and people are thinking that O'Reilly could possibly be benched, which is not ideal. Let me try and get to Garner or Sade. Completely different conversation here, because Garner's one of those players that you could happily bench any single given week, and I really would have to make sure that the rest of your squad looks fantastic, because Sade at 7 million is like a starter every single week for that team. So they're very different players on that one. Start Grealish or Jimenez. I think if I own Grealish, I would just start him and hope for the best. I didn't find out what the situation was on Grealish. Yeah, I don't really know the status on Grealish, so I would be worried about his minutes regardless. Let me see what's been said about Grealish. I don't think anything got mentioned about Grealish in the press conference, which is a bit of a problem. Grealish, FPL. It's like the usual sort of thing to type in and usually get an answer. Not many people have been talking about Grealish, to be honest, so I don't really know what's going to happen there. If I own Grealish, I would start him and hope for the best, basically, is where I would be. And I don't really know what the situation is with Semenyo right now, because some people are saying that Semenyo is going to play and then others are not. So I don't really know what the position is. Yeah, I don't really know what the situation is with Semenyo. Can anybody let me know? I assume Semenyo was playing, but I just saw another thing conflicting that was almost like, oh, he's not. So now I'm like, what's actually going on now? Let me take a look. Sorry, it's a terrible viewing, but I'm just trying to get to the bottom of whether Semenyo is actually an option or not. Because if he's not going to play, my team is in trouble. Lots of trouble. Now, I will take a look at my team again in a minute. See. Yeah, I thought he was playing as well, but so yeah, if I was to roll this week, what's the worst case scenario? So let's just say like the whole thing in terms of like what happened with Raya last week was just absolute nightmare, wasn't it? So I'm just going to take out the thing in my head that Gabriel, let's just say Gabriel is a normal defender. Let's just say he's a normal defender. Because when we actually look at bonus points for Arsenal defenders right now, this would be quite interesting to see. So if we go to Arsenal, obviously Gabriel is here, but he's played a lot less minutes than others. So we take a look at the bonus points. Gabriel's got 16, Timber's got 7, and then Saliba's got 1. So Gabriel is like a beast when it comes to bonus points. So if they play and they keep a clean sheet, Gabriel basically is getting everything. And when we look at defensive contributions as well, Gabriel is at 105 and Timber's at 89. So basically, it's one of those sort of situations where if Arsenal keep a clean sheet, it is becoming almost impossible for anyone to outscore Gabriel because he has more defensive contributions than anybody else in that team. He clearly is a goal threat. I think Timber probably has higher upside than him from numbers, but really I think Gabriel has the potential and he hits bonus all the time. So Gabriel, whatever happens, is always going to mop up. And really, when we look at the points of the players, Raya on 79, Timber on 97. It's not horrendous, but remember, Raya's played so many more minutes than that to Gabriel, so it's quite scary how many points Gabriel could have had, considering he's missed all of this game time, which, let's just be real, he would have hit more points, more goals probably. So, in terms of my team for this week, I just want to, anybody who's not having Gabriel, let's just have a little bit of a zone right now where we can actually consider what is happening right now. So, if Gabriel is not essential, let's just say there's a world where Gabriel is just a normal defender and he doesn't bang a header, he doesn't hit DEFCON, probably does. Let's just take him out of the equation. How bad is this team then? Well, like I said, the actual fixtures this week, I don't think there's much to chase. Like, Sunderland have proved to be a tough cookie. Do I suddenly think Spurs bagged 3 goals against Sunderland? Not really, no. I mean, they held Man City. So I don't really think there's much upside here in this team at all. So if we're in a position right now where I can roll my transfer and this team comes out, I think it's okay. I think it's absolutely fine. I can't get Keane in unless I sell O'Reilly, and I don't really think Keane makes a lot of sense because I don't really know what's going on there. And then in game week 21, I'd be in a position right now where I need to ask myself, does this change anything? So a reminder, this is a Tuesday deadline. So we got Saturday today, a couple of days later is the game week 21 deadline. So it's another real quick turnaround. Now, let's go off the assumption that Semenyo is out now. He's out. Ekitike is away against Arsenal. I would keep him because he's got the Burnley game in game week 22. I just think it's a no-brainer to keep Ekitike for another week. I'd start Anderson against Chelsea. O'Reilly, Dorgu's fine. But let's say Semenyo is a problem and he needs to go. If I were to sell him now, what is the fixture that I'd want to buy a player in? So, like, I'm looking at it, going down the list. Everton, maybe, but I don't love Everton midfielders at all. Palace, no. Brentford, I can't really get behind. A Burnley player, not really. A Man United player, not really. Newcastle, again, who's the Newcastle player to own? And then Arsenal, Liverpool. So, I can see in the poll right now, a lot of you said that it's a very split poll and it makes sense why it's so difficult to come to terms with what move to go for. But I personally think maybe rolling my transfer for one more week just gives me a bit more flexibility in the upcoming week. And I wouldn't be surprised if then in this week, I just say to myself, forget about the Burnley game. Let's just get rid of him now. Get rid of Virgil van Dijk. Bring in Gabriel against Liverpool, which again doesn't make a lot of sense. So am I just kind of waiting another week to buy Gabriel and buy him this week against Forest? But then you can't sell Virgil van Dijk when he's got Burnley. So maybe you sell him here and you do Gabriel in and you just accept whatever his price is. But obviously then I'm having to free up 1.1 million, which is not great. And then I sell Semenyo in game week 22. And I buy, again, who is the guy? So, as you can see, I think the problem for me right now is, do I just make the -4 now and just almost be like, it is what it is? Because I think I'm going to always have a problem each and every week of when is the entry point to buy Gabriel. So do I just almost get it done now? So, for example, what I could do is just be like, you know what? It is what it is. Let's just get rid of Virgil van Dijk and be done with it. So, Van Dijk, as I said, to Gabriel. And then, if I'm concerned about the situation with O'Reilly, selling O'Reilly and going to somebody who's 4.8 million. And again, when we look at the fixtures coming up over the next few weeks, who is that 4.8 million defender that could become gold? Well, it's not going to be a West Ham guy. It should be an Everton guy, but I don't really know who that Everton guy is. I can't really bring myself to buy Keane when I don't even know if he's playing. So straight away, there's problems in this team, it feels. Van de Ven could be an option, possibly as a bit of a enabler. At 4.5 million, comes in for the Sunderland game, where I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs were to keep a clean sheet. Bring him in for that, and then in game week 21, again, he doesn't really help me with the away game against Bournemouth at all. So, yeah, I do need to make a decision in a minute because it is quite a tough one. But let me come through the rest of the chat. Let's talk about some more stuff. Just checking right now to see if there's any sort of team news. So yeah, I think I need to decide whether like a Bruno Guimaraes is the route to go for, even though I don't love him. Even though I don't love Bruno Guimaraes, is he just offering me guaranteed game time in this team? So, for example, if we look at this, if I just agree to myself that Semenyo is a problem this week, because I just don't see him doing anything against Arsenal personally, even though I don't love Bruno as a pick, can I do O'Reilly to Gabriel? No. So I'd have to keep O'Reilly, which is not ideal. But if we were to do this, I really don't love the move at all. But for a -4, it gives me a guy who plays Palace, Leeds, Wolves and Villa, which I think is a good run of fixtures. Remember, Palace played on Thursday, so they're not exactly going to be at their best. I agree Semenyo isn't necessarily a desperate sell, but do we honestly think he's going to do anything? Not really. Not really against Arsenal. So the team would look like this. And remember, this is a -4 for this team. And then in game week 21, the team would look like this. Raya and Gabriel at home against Liverpool. It's not great, but we just assume Arsenal are infinitely better than Liverpool. We then have Anderson and Dorgu with O'Reilly against Brighton and just hope O'Reilly plays. Cunha, Bruno Guimaraes against Leeds, Foden and Saka with Haaland and Ekitike. And again, with this fixture run here, I think by then, if I wanted to make a move and I was worried about O'Reilly, I could sell O'Reilly to an Everton player if I wanted to and bring in someone like a Michael Keane with the funds available and try and just give some depth in this team a little bit and kind of get it in. So I think that's an option. And then in game week 22, the team would look like this. Again, great game for Bruno Guimaraes. Just hope that he delivers in these particular games because I don't love any of the picks. And then almost starting to find a way out of Cunha, I believe, in game week 22. And I feel like I'll need some transfers in game week 22. So I almost feel like taking the -4 is short-term pain, but kind of for long-term gain. Because if I can get myself to game week 22 with some transfers in the bank, I think it puts me in a good enough position. So that might be the route to go. Right, let's get through some more of the chat a minute. So, so said, please, Harry. What about Virgil van Dijk to Gabriel and sell Foden to Morgan Rogers? Definitely a consideration, but I just think if Foden plays against Chelsea, this is a money fixture for them right now. And I just can't really get behind that as a move as of right now. Any changes needed? Raya, Gabriel, Van Dijk, Tarkowski, Enzo, Guimaraes, Rogers, Wilson, Ekitike, Thiago, Haaland, captaincy. Bench, Dubravka, Keane. No, I don't think you need any moves because you've got Keane on your bench. I'd be almost inclined to start Keane and almost hope for the best, but you have got Tarkowski, which is great. I just think Enzo's going to do nothing. I would start Keane instead of Enzo because I don't think Enzo's going to do anything for you. Bowen, Saka, Bruno Guimaraes, Dorgu, and Verbruggen, or Roofs, Chow, Gordon, Rogers, and Ekitike. Well, it's hard to get behind Bowen, but I love Saka. I like the Bruno Guimaraes pick. Dorgu's a bit meh. I think the first route is slightly more preferable, but it's very hard to recommend on this one, mate, because I need a bit more context on the rest of the team, really. Is Brooks a cheeky punt? I can't really get behind the Brooks pick myself, but maybe I'm missing something there. No, I don't think Semenyo is a must sell, but I do think he is a sell regardless. I think he is a sell regardless. Ollie, your question, mate. Ollie, can you drop it in here, mate? Because it'll be a bit easier. Yeah, Ollie, if you put your question in here, mate, I can definitely go through it. I think I've got your team. Where's your team at? Yeah, drop it in here, mate, and I can go through that for you. No problem at all. Just checking right now, see if there's anything on Twitter. Yeah, I can't see anything on Twitter, guys, regarding early team news at all. And a reminder, in terms of the actual game today, that is going to be the Villa Forest one. So anyone with Morgan Rogers, you are going to be hoping he does well. And are Arsenal playing today? They are, which is really important. The reason being is, if you were in a position right now where you don't own Gabriel, part of me thinks you could just buy him tonight. As long as he passes and is all fine, you could just buy him tonight. Absolutely no problem. So that's something to consider as well regarding Gabriel. That is something to consider. Yes, Paqueta looks like he is a doubt. Ollie, what's the two options that you're considering, mate? Like you're saying about the... Yes, you got the 1 free transfer on your team. Defence looks absolutely fine. In terms of the midfield, it's more a case of looking to sell Semenyo, isn't it, really? And I think Semenyo to Rogers, I think, as I mentioned, is not a bad move. I think Semenyo to Rogers isn't a bad pick. But let me know what the other deliberation was, bud. After a cheaper Senesi replacement, thoughts? Well, if you're looking for a cheaper Senesi replacement, let's just remind ourselves of what his actual price point is. So, Senesi's currently priced at, I don't know what you can sell him at, but he's 4.8 million. Now, of course, my answer is going to be Keane, but we don't know whether he's actually going to play or not. And Everton play tomorrow, so we're not really going to get anything whether he's actually available or not, which is a slight concern in that scenario. So, outside of Keane, if you want to take the risk on Keane, then I think that's the route to go. But I am slightly concerned about him in terms of guaranteed game time because he might be a risk. If we look at the defenders available to you, you need a player that offers guaranteed game time, defensive contributions. I think Van den Berg is one that could be an option. 9.06 DEFCON per 90. The fixtures coming up at Everton, Sunderland, Chelsea, Forest. Not the best fixtures, but he could be okay for you. Otherwise, if we look at the other options, Konsa could be okay, but the problem is with him, DEFCON isn't great. So you're not really getting those consistent returns from him, even if they were to not keep a clean sheet. So outside of that, I'm kind of struggling to pick one outside of Keane. So it almost would be taking a punt on Keane. Or if you wanted to go there, I do think Van der Ven is okay. Oh, actually, I think Van Heck is a good pick. Burnley, Man City, Bournemouth, Fulham, Everton coming up. DEFCON is okay. We know he has a goal in him. Otherwise, it's Van der Ven. Problem is, DEFCON is not fantastic for Van der Ven at all, but the fixtures are good, which is the most important thing. Yeah, anybody going with that Haaland capacity, I think, is quite crazy. I think Chelsea are just there for the taking right now. I think I had some bits here. I think we've covered this all off here in terms of, remember, you got all your chips available. We got the second half of the chips, so make sure you're getting in a position where if you have to use them, you use them. But I think because of the double game weeks that we could possibly get later on in the season, there won't be many, just a heads up. That is actually an option to do so. Right, I feel like we need to get this team locked in because I still don't have a clue what I'm doing, but I always do this. I always decide on stream almost with kind of everything I know. So part of me thinks I'm always going to have an issue of when to buy Gabriel. So it's almost a case of just buying Gabriel and being done with it. But I also don't think Gabriel is just like this like holy player that like is absolutely pivotal to own this week. But do I think in my scenario where I have David Raya every single week and I'm looking at him is an issue? Yes, I do think that's a problem. So like I said, is there a way that I could do O'Reilly to Gabriel? Well, if we look at it and kind of work it backwards, if we were to buy Gabriel, I would need to free up 1.1 million. So a way to do that would be to get rid of Raya and bring in Verbruggen. And the team would look like this. Now, again, is that better? Like, if you actually look at that, O'Reilly to Gabriel and Raya to Verbruggen, I'm basically selling an Arsenal defender for another defender, and I'm getting rid of a Man City defender against Chelsea. But the only reason I'm selling the Man City defender is the slight concern that he could be not playing, which obviously has become a bit of an issue. And I do think O'Reilly is still young, remember? So I think we're in a position where Pep might look at him and think, you know what, we're going to take you out of the team just for a little bit and see how it goes. So I'm thinking that could be a consideration for my team. Doing O'Reilly to Gabriel and Raya to Verbruggen doesn't excite me, to be honest. The other option is addressing the Semenyo situation, bringing in Bruno Guimaraes and bringing in Gabriel for Van Dijk. And that give me 0.1 million in the bank for future moves. It literally gets me in for the fixtures, and that's it. That's all he's coming in for, Bruno Guimaraes. And then we got Gabriel, O'Reilly still. And if O'Reilly doesn't play, Lafille comes in as a pick. And it gets rid of the worry of Semenyo. That's also an option. I don't love Raya, but I've owned him for a long time. That is an easy way for me to have double Arsenal for the foreseeable future. And then in Game Week 21, as long as O'Reilly is available, he'd play Gabriel and Raya against Liverpool, Anderson, Dorgu. That all looks fine. Bruno against Leeds at home is never going to look terrible. So that looks okay. And I think in this week, I would look to roll the transfer regardless. I know I don't have any Everton against Wolves, which is a bit of a problem. And Everton continue to hurt me each and every week. That is something to consider. And then in Game Week 22, the team would look like this. And this is where I think moves would start to be made. Cunha might be getting left from the team. We might be starting to do something with this. Probably looking like that as of right now. Hopefully Richards is back by then and provides me with a bit of cover if we need it. So that is currently my preference. But once again, I don't love it. I need to check on Bruno Guimaraes' minutes a minute. I've not really been a fan of Bruno Guimaraes as a pick. I do think the Burnley fixtures are almost heightening his returns, because outside of that, they're pretty poor. He wasn't really doing anything. Done nothing against United, nothing against Chelsea, nothing against Sunderland. He done that against Burnley and got a 10-pointer, and it was a 0.38 expected goal involvement. So Bruno's not really like the guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, the numbers aren't great. You know, I don't think it's great. So that's a slight issue. So I don't love that. So really then it comes down to, if I don't love my defenders, is there a way of doing this and get a 4.8 million defender here? But again, like I said, if I bring in Keane, I am just praying to the gods that he is the one. And I think this is the best combination, personally. I think Keane is better than O'Reilly. I'm buying a player that is a risk for this week, which is not ideal. But then I get him for Wolves, Villa and Leeds. And if he doesn't play, I've taken a -4 to effectively start Lafay. But I get to keep my double Arsenal and I get to keep Semenyo. Now, it makes no sense keeping Semenyo when I have double Arsenal, really. So it's all counterintuitive, to be honest. It's all a little bit chaotic. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't know whether Gabriel just hurts my team more than anything. What are your thoughts, guys, in the chat? Anyone help me? Any thoughts on the team? Do I just buy Tarkowski? Do I almost just go, you know what, I'm just going to get Tarkowski in for now and lean on that and just get the Everton coverage, who's hurting me every week as well? Maybe that's the move. Wildcard, Palace is saying, I can't get behind the wildcard right now. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if wildcard was close. But yeah, I could do this maybe, and then ride one more week and then get to game week 22. And then possibly do like O'Reilly to Gabriel and then Raya to someone like a Verbruggen. Sanchez with those games. But then I would need to take a -4 to get rid of Semenyo, remember? So yeah. What about Raya to Pickford? What does that give you in the bank? I don't think Raya to Pickford actually does much to my team at all, really. So Raya to Pickford is basically gives me 0.3, so I can't really do anything here. Yeah, Ollie, I unfortunately can't bloody get to things with O'Brien. He doesn't hit the DEFCON, which is a problem. DEFCON is massive this season, and him not hitting it is a bit of a problem. So yeah, part of me thinks we're just going to roll the transfer. I think always Keane is like the one that I would like, to be honest. Keane is the one that kind of just resolves everything. So if I just check out the situation with Keane, FPL. See, people are selling Keane. Do you know what I mean? So buying him probably doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Yeah, I think that's the big thing right now. It's a shame that they're all so expensive because... So I do kind of think possibly just rolling the transfer is the way to go. Yeah, rolling feels right. I think the move that I'm considering right now is if I was to do it, is this. Because it makes a lot of sense if you get lucky with Keane playing, and then you get double Arsenal defence, which is great because you kind of everyone's hoping for that. You then get Keane, which if he plays, happy days. Then in game week 21, you got him for the Wolves game. You got double Arsenal, Anderson, Dorgu. The rest of the team kind of picks itself. Probably would have to sell Semenyo, but if we do get him once again against Spurs, then happy days. I think Spurs is fine. And then in game week 22, we're in a position where we obviously try to change the team up once again. Again, in game week 21, who really is the players that we want to own? Well, you want a piece of that. And if we had Keane, then happy days. If he's close for game week 20, then he's going to be available for game week 21, of course. Newcastle against Leeds, yes. But who is the player to own in that Newcastle game? We don't really know. And then in game week 22, if I can get myself to 2 free transfers, I can sell Semenyo to maybe the player that I actually do want. You know, Chelsea go on this great run of fixtures. So maybe that could be, you know, anybody in that position by then. I'm just going to check to see if there's anybody else who I'm missing in the defenders who is like 5 million or less. So let's just go through this a minute. It needs to be basically 4.8 million for me to do those moves. Senesi, no. Keane obviously flagged, as we know. God, there's a big jump then down to all these players. Van Heck, good fixtures coming up. Do I love him as a pick or Brighton? Not at all. Yeah, I think that's the only route I can go. Right, let's get through some questions, guys, and then we're going to have to wrap it up, unfortunately. Malik Chow, bit too expensive for me, unfortunately. Yeah, Florian Wirtz is a problem, Ollie, like you said. I think, have you got him in your team? Yeah, so if you're concerned about Wirtz, then I think Wirtz out. You could just do Wirtz out to Rodgers. That would be quite an easy one. We don't really know whether Wirtz is going to play or not, but regardless, I don't think the Fulham game is fantastic for him from a minutes perspective. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was an issue for you, regardless. Yeah, let me just see what's going on here. So I think that's the big thing for me, really, is like we don't really know exactly what we want to do with this team. And that's the big problemo. So yeah, part of me thinks buying Keane and taking the risk is the way to go. But again, do I actually want to do it? I don't know. It helps my team massively, though, going down that route. Right, let's flow through some of these questions. What about Timber instead of Gabriel? Gabriel isn't a must-have if you want attacking Arsenal defense. Yeah, agree. I think Timber's also a fantastic pick. Thing is, though, with Timber, what's his price point? 6.4. So, like, it doesn't really change too much for me. Like, if I was to do Virgil van Dijk to Timber, I'd have 0.4 million. It doesn't enable another midfielder, for example. Like, 7.2 price. Is there anyone at 7? There's nobody really who that enables. And then if I was to restore Semenyo minute and take out O'Reilly, as we discussed, 4.9 for a defender allows me to get, who else? Mikalenko. I don't really want Mikalenko, and O'Brien, as we said, doesn't have the DEFCON. That really justifies it. However, I was planning to future, and I was going to start a Katiki, João Pedro, and then use Wirtz as a cash cow to Bruno. Yeah, that's not fine. If not, then I think we would just get rid of the original move that we've spoken about with Semenyo and bringing in Rodgers if that doesn't block anything. Timber plus Gabriel or Gabriel plus Tarkowski. I mean, I quite like the Gabriel-Tarkowski combination just because of the fixtures coming up. I think are really good. Why bench Lafitte? Just, I don't think he's doing... His numbers are all right, but I just don't really see him as a pick, really, personally. I will swap the bench in there to that. Vice-captain's going to go on... Probably Saka, to be honest. But yeah, as you can see, I haven't really come to a decision on my team, but we got to... I said I was going to end the stream at half past, so I kind of need to... bench one. Virgil van Dijk, Frimpong, O'Reilly, or Hincapié. Well, I definitely would... I don't really know whether Hincapié starts or not, to be honest with you. That's my big concern. I probably would bench Frimpong, because I have no idea whether he plays or not. Yeah, Ollie, I think the Semenyo to Rodgers move is a good move. I think his fixture's good. I think Villa are still a good team. I know they've got a few injuries. That's my only hesitation regarding him. But I think the Rodgers move is good. Start O'Reilly and Mukiele. I probably would start O'Reilly and hope for the best. Sanchez over Bruggen long term. I do prefer Sanchez, but we need to see what happens with this Chelsea team under new management. That's all. Who would you start this week out of Chow, Mukiele, and Wilson? I probably would have to start. Chow. Probably have to start Chow and just hope that Crystal Palace is just a bit cooked, to be honest with you. Do I think Odegaard is a good option for a wild card? He is coming into his own a little bit, so I don't mind him, but I never feel like he's the guy to own. Yeah, I agree. Palmer's just not an option right now to kind of play. Right, I think we got to get this team sorted. So I'm very reluctant to take the -4, I'm going to be honest. Like I said, I don't feel like the moves really benefit my team massively this week. So we've got to view it more as longer term. Like I said, I think Semenyo is okay. I think Semenyo probably plays. Let me just check. Is Semenyo definitely playing? What has been confirmed? Yeah, so Iriolas come out and says Semenyo will play tomorrow, so nothing is signed. So I think Semenyo will play. And if he doesn't play, worst case, I've got Lafitte to come in and kind of replace him. My big worry is O'Reilly. It looks like he is going to not... It looks like he's not going to play. So... really, because of all that, I feel like this is where I want to go and just hope for the best and pray Keane starts. I think Keane just helps me long term, and it takes the money out of O'Reilly and frees up things in my side. I think that's the big thing for me. I'm just going to quickly check Twitter to see if there's anything else that I'm missing. But it's very much like a -4 to bring in somebody that's just kind of like, I'm just like, I need to keep him, hope for the best. Now, of course, I'm making a defensive transfer for Gabriel, who, end of the day, is not even available. The problem is I'm owning Semenyo, and then I'm in a position where I actually can't really hope that he does well because he's against my double Arsenal defence, which is a bit of a weird scenario to be in. So it's kind of awkward almost. It's not a great spot to be in. But yeah, I think Nico O'Reilly's a bit of a problem. I haven't really loved him as a pick at all. So yeah, this is tempting me. Bringing in Keane and hoping he plays. And if he doesn't play, I've gone in for the Wolves game. And kind of just being done with it. I'm still stuck on this. This is the one. This is the route that I'm... Guys, let me know in the chat what are your thoughts on this. I'll do a quick poll. It's so risky. This is the move here, by the way, on screen. O'Reilly to Gabriel, Virgil van Dijk to O'Keane. Remember, O'Keane is in a position where it's like he isn't guaranteed to play. So I'll be bringing him in being like, oh, I don't actually know if he's good or not. And the problem is with that move, of course, is that I still keep Semenyo, which is not ideal. But I don't know who else I want for Semenyo this week. So it's like, well, is there anybody actually better than Semenyo? See, everyone's... Yeah, it's very 50-50. Feels like a difficult week to get the right thing. Keane could do a Gabriel and get 15 points. I do agree, and he has that capability for sure. I do think this move just kind of like, it gets rid of O'Reilly, which is a problem. It means I'm not buying a midfielder that I actually don't really want. Like, I don't want Bruno Gomes. I'll just be buying him to get rid of Semenyo. Yes, of course, this is a bit counterintuitive, owning Semenyo up against my double defence. It is what it is. But then in next week's move, I would probably then sacrifice... Keane will be available then, surely. If he was a risk for this, he'd be available for that. And then if Semenyo isn't available for this game against Spurs, which to be honest, this is a great game for Semenyo if he does play against Spurs, then I sell Semenyo and we get him out of the team. Because he'll be the only reason to make a transfer this week would be Semenyo out. But of course, this move here gives me 0 in the bank, so the flexibility isn't necessarily there. But I've just taken a risk, obviously, with Keane as my move. That's all. Just taking a bit of a doubt that he could play. Just want to see if there's any projections out there for Everton. Because does that deliver? O'Reilly, Keane, O'Reilly to Gabriel, Virgil van Dijk to Keane. Virgil will definitely play, as we know, and he could hit DEFCON. Keane could obviously bag the clean sheet, and then I'm in real trouble if that's the case. But I have Gabriel then. If O'Reilly doesn't play, that will be a kick in the teeth, because then already the -4 looks like, well, why didn't I take the -4 and get Gabriel? Because if O'Reilly doesn't play, I've got Lafille coming in away against Spurs. I'm not expecting anything. I don't see anything there. So I think making these moves just make a lot of sense for the team. Branthwaite, I think he's still a little bit away. It does sound like he's a little bit away. So we said confirms that Michael Keane could return for Sunday's game against Brentford, having missed out against Forest through injury. So it's like one of those where it's like, why has he said he could return? So part of me thinks, do I just take the risk and buy Keane? Just seeing right now if there's any more details. 61% of people are saying O'Reilly, it's just because predictors have got him not starting this week. That's all. So it's like, oh, is he actually worth keeping in the team? Just a reminder of what my team does look like without any moves. So probably what happens is Lafie comes in for O'Reilly if he doesn't play. All the other players I'm expecting to play. So, and then like O'Reilly, then you look at it and think he has got good fixtures, but I don't know if he's the player that I really want. Whereas I know I want a piece of the Everton defence, and I think we would get it with Keane over that period, personally. So, yeah, if he does start, I agree, we ain't scoring against City. That is 100% true. So we are in a scenario then where it's like, bloody hell. Yeah, so will I kick myself if O'Reilly doesn't start and I haven't taken the hit? Probably. Because then I've got Gabriel in already. I've got Semenyo, which is just hurting me. I don't love having Semenyo against my double Arsenal defence. So that's the issue. It doesn't really... I can't do well with Semenyo. So... And if Lafie comes in for O'Reilly, then... Ugh. Right, we're going to end the poll there, guys. I think... The more I look at it, the more I think I don't like the -4 this week at all. And the more I think, shall I just get 2 transfers for game week 21 and just almost not watch the games? Hope Arsenal don't keep a clean sheet almost, which is a weird scenario to be in. Hope Semenyo does something and almost delivers, because his numbers are still great. And then if the worst case scenario, Gabriel ruins my overall rank, which he probably will do so, then I just literally buy him tonight. I just buy him tonight out of panic if his price is going to go up again. So yeah, I think, controversially, it doesn't make a lot of sense buying a player that's a risk this week with Keane. It just doesn't. I'm always convincing myself he will start. So why don't I just keep this team for this week, roll the transfer, have 2 for game week 21, while everybody else will have 1. Well, everybody. A lot of people will. A lot of people are taking a -4 already, so I'm already 4 points up on a lot of people. The big one is if O'Reilly doesn't play. That is the big, annoyance. So I think we're going to roll. So I think we have to wrap it up there, guys. I do apologise. I have to get off the stream now. So thanks so much for tuning in. I think as of right now, we're going to roll the transfer controversially, give myself some flexibility for the next week, resist Gabriel for 1 more week, and then go from there. So it's not great. Ekatike against Anderson as an example, not a great position to be in. But I think we're just going to keep it as it is. If I make any changes, I will update you in the community section. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Have a good one. Take care. I apologise I couldn't get into any more of the chat, but I think I'm going to roll the transfer and give myself some flexibility. If I crumble and I bottle it, I will let you know in the community section. Thank you once again, guys. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.